And, psychics are the ones that told me that I was psychic.
I never got to say goodbye to her, but she came to me after she died.
He was like, oh, nobody knows I'm here. That's why I came like 2 states away, because he had to hide it.
Get a peer group, get friends, get support, and it is out there.
Hi, welcome back to Coffee with Psychics. Maureen, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking water. I'm just drinking water, filtered water, yeah.
Okay.
Good old water in Denver.
Okay, and how about you, Ken?
I'm drinking a unique and exotic coffee, the history of which I'm not really familiar, but it's exotic and it's coffee. Thank God.
Is it good?
Thank God for coffee.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it's very good.
Okay, do you guys have a great weekend? And Katie, sorry about that. Katie, what are you drinking?
I have my smoothie. It probably looks super gross. It's like a green spirulina smoothie.
Okay. Everybody have a good weekend?
Yeah, what are you drinking?
Oh, I am drinking a pineapple drink.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
You're not driving later then?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that pineapple. Like everything,
you never know
right?
how that can go. Yeah.
It actually would be a good little drink to add some rum into, or some
I was thinking
tequila.
that rum. It does
I think actually Jamaica was
Pina
built
colada.
on that.
A pina colada
So
does have
smells
coconut
good.
milk in it too, so it would be good with
Yeah,
some rum.
I think we're onto something here. If we
Yeah.
can just find a rum we all like, we'll
Yeah.
we'll get a sponsor here.
Yeah.
Next time instead of coffee, we'll have to do drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coffee
We'll
with
do
psychics
drinks.
and a little rum.
Yeah.
Cocktails with psychics.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Okay, so today our topic is when did we all come out as psychics?
And helping others.
And helping other people come out as
Yeah.
psychics.
So how did you come out? How did you reveal yourself?
It was mostly I got discovered. I was minding my own business in a psychic class, and I did too well. And so the teacher cornered me and said, "You need to work here." And I go, "Doing what? I can sweep up okay, but I can answer a phone." But she says, "No, come in here. I'll train you." And so first thing I did was psychometry, and it was just a class exercise to show them what psychometry was. So she had her keys, she had handed them around, and everybody held them and saw what pictures they got.
So that's what psychometry
That's what psychometry is.
That's why I was
Where you
taught.
hold something.
Yeah, exactly. You get something
pictures.
physical from the person, and it has their vibes in it, and you can then get pictures from that. And again, you take whatever
Interesting.
pictures you got, and they tell you which ones are good or relevant. So she had just chewed out her staff, and so that was in there, and there had been a slam door, and she was one of these women that if you can have hair, you're better if you have twice as much hair. And so she had a lot of hair and spent a lot of money on it. So not only did it look like a lot of hair, but after she came back from the dresser, it was more hair. So she was really into big hair. And,
Do you know when her birthday was by any chance?
No.
No, I was just wondering if she was a Leo, because Leos tend to have
Yeah,
big
that
hair.
would make sense.
Anyway,
Like a
sorry,
mane?
go back to your story.
like a
Sorry,
mane.
Oh
interrupted them.
that was it. And so I saw big hair. I saw and also they'd had a fight, and there'd been a door slammed and voices raised. So I got all that off her keys and gave them back. And so after that, she came over and said, "Why don't you start coming around?" And I had a job that was a little flexible at that time, so I could come around. And so I started working there. And she said, "Okay, we need to get you a position." So she hired a promoter, and I've got cards that say Psychic Counseling Services Promotions. She didn't have a real spiritual base, and I was an old hippie, which had done a lot of psychedelics, so I felt like I did have a spiritual base. And so her thing was
Cracked you open.
love light. Her buzzword, and one thing you do in this business is you come up with a buzzword that nobody can define, so it can be totally vague, so you can promise anything. So her buzzword was love, light, and truth was her slogan or whatever went on the business card. And so she said all the staff, we all had to come up with our definition of what love, light, and truth is. And I knew that nobody there had that kind of a spiritual basis. So I said, we're all light, and love is the attraction of light for light. And that's the truth. And so,
yeah.
I love that
and she
description.
stole that. And immediately that was hers. So that's how I got recruited. She had done a lot of research in her life about this stuff, and she had kept records of everything. So I snooped through everything I could and learned a whole lot of stuff that she probably hadn't meant to teach me. But a lot of the stuff I did learn from her. I learned the psychometry. She taught us Silva-based program, and we added a few cute things to that to make magic happen.
So what's the Silva based?
Silva it's like hypnosis. It's self-hypnosis,
Okay.
basically. You learn how to alter your own consciousness on your own. You can learn it from a teacher, but to me that makes you dependent on the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the idea. So you learn how to just go into light hypnosis. Apparently, once you get down to what they call the alpha level, 7 to 13 cycles per second right in here, you are more open to visions, more open. You can make pictures in your head more easily. You're more open to clairaudience, which is hearing psychic stuff. And so that's basically what Silva starts at, is teaching you how to alter your consciousness to get to that. The one thing I always wanted to teach people is the hardest, it's an old Grateful Dead song, the first days are the hardest days. The first times you do this exercise are by far the hardest, and after about the third time it comes really fast. And you get to where you can alter your consciousness and go into this state of mind at the drop of a hat really quickly. You don't have to lay down and look like you're going to sleep. Yeah. They do have one that he's marketing now, though, Jose. He's an old fart now. He's probably dead. These are probably old tapes. But
I think they are old tapes.
But he's where they were picking lottery tickets pretty consistently. And I thought, well, that would be an interesting skill to have. So that's where I'm going next with Silva.
There you go.
So did you, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you have an experience where you had to tell your parents or your girlfriend or your friends that you were psychic?
That's always really hard, and I wait for them to tell me. Okay.
Like how'd you know that? Or
yeah, that kind of stuff. Or nah, we need to go get those tickets now. And as we get there, the ticket door closes, so we get the last tickets, that kind of stuff. Well, how did you know? I said, I have no idea. I could make up some bull for you. Yeah. And there's a whole lot of people out there that are ready to make that up for you. When I don't know something, I'll tell you I don't know it. And I don't know how that works. I don't know how. I tried to teach other people. The way I do it is when you know something, my biggest skill is no. So somebody says, oh, I'm a psychic. Well, part of me says no. And I can feel it. It's a physical feeling. And I also hear it, but mostly it's a physical feeling. And so I can, when someone says something to me, I can decide in my own self anyway whether I believe it or not, whether I think it's factual. And if it's not factual, then I really start searching to see what else is factual about them. What was my point there? I don't know.
It was interesting. I don't remember. But
yeah, same here. Welcome to my world.
Yeah. How did you
Kim
tell?
rambles on.
I actually just had one more question for you. When you were talking about when you were working at the place and you were learning, and you said that you learned a lot more things that she probably didn't want you to learn.
Exactly, yeah, that was the fun.
Right, exactly. And so do you think she was trying, you knew it, you became psychic, or you learned, you were trained and you got all this. Do you think she was trying to keep it to herself to know more? I mean, do you know a reason?
We were hustled all the time by people, greedy people, fortune hunters that had a map and wanted to know where the gold was.
Yeah.
People that mom died, where's the will? That kind of stuff. And so she dealt with a lot of that. And she did not involve me in those readings. Those were very private. And I think she actually made some deals on the side. So if we find this, we need a piece of it, that kind of stuff, instead of just doing a standard reading.
So money was involved.
Yeah, she was very mercantile.
Okay.
And she said, your job for me is to make me money. And so I tried, and I wasn't very good at it. I tried to identify greed in our culture. If you want money, go. There were people who that's their whole reason for living is greed. And so I said, okay, we've got to get her in there. She knew she could do a trick. If he could stand in front of a white wall, she could make her aura brighter, and they could see her aura. And these people had no psychic, no spiritual basis at all that I could tell. So it was a totally altered state for them. That was, you had to, well, maybe I saw an aura, maybe I didn't, blah, 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 blah. But she had a thing where she would take the most resistant person, and I learned how to do this from her. It's a learnable skill. And you hook into their aura, and right under your ears here, about where these headphones are at, there are receivers, whatever you want to call it, really sensitive areas. And if you build energy, Yola is probably the best I've seen at this. Build energy, you can hook into people there, and you can move them. I mean, you're not touching them, just energy, but you can move them back and forth. And the more they resist, the easier they are to move, because they lock their muscles, and so you can mess with their balance, and that's very impressive in front of a group of people. Their most resistant person is being manhandled by this little old lady up in front of the group. So that was powerful, but I didn't know what to do with that. Okay, we've amazed them. Now what do we do? And I should have said, and bring your multi list up here, and we'll pick out the houses you're going to sell. But the greed level was so high.
Well, I'm going to stop right there for just a second. So, Maureen, I want to hear, I'm going to pull it back to the topic a tiny bit. What are your experiences coming out to people? Did you tell your parents? Did you tell your mom?
No. Well, my mom she died when I was a little girl, so
okay.
Very few conversations about that with her. It was, if I felt something or saw something or heard something and I told her, she didn't correct me for it, but she would say, "Oh, you're just tired, honey," or whatever. She would poo-poo, like
it wasn't.
It's not
So
really
you
real.
were very young
head.
then.
It's an imagination.
You were very young when you were feeling this, because your mom you were like 10
Yeah.
when your mom died, so you were really young.
Yeah, I was real young.
Any of your peers know about it?
Not then. I was too young.
Yeah.
Did you do you remember feeling like you had to not tell people? Like you shouldn't tell people?
I never.
I'll give you an example. I saw a ghost when I was young. I used to see a ghost in my house, and I remember telling my friend,
Right.
and I kind of got in trouble with her parents for telling her, because she thought I was trying to scare her.
Yeah.
So I never told anybody else.
Yeah.
I didn't have an experience like that, but not with friends or anything. No, I just kind of lived it. It just was, whatever happened, I just, let it happen, and I didn't judge it, or, I did see my mom when she died. I never got to say goodbye to her, but she came to me after she died.
Wow.
And she
really
was
sweet.
she was wearing clothes that she always wore. She wore a little house dress. It was long, back in the 50s. And she wore a little house dress, and she had a little green sweater she would wear. And she was at the foot of my bed, and I looked up, and there she was, and she just floated up, and she was smiling.
Was it right after she died? Immediately
Probably within a week, because at that time they didn't allow we were not allowed. I mean, she went in the hospital, and she died like the next day. So there were no visits, but at that time they didn't let you go and visit anybody in the hospital. Like a child was not. Child didn't have a lot of rights.
So you didn't get to see.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see her. No, absolutely not. And even at the funeral, my dad and my aunt and all the adults did not allow us to go to the funeral, so we didn't go. So that was her way to say goodbye to me.
Yeah. Oh,
was
that's
for
really
her
sweet.
To She came to see me. Yeah.
I've actually heard that from different psychics that I've been to, because before my mom passed away, I remember somebody telling me that she would be able to help me from the other side more, because she was in a state she couldn't help me at that point.
Yeah.
But they said she'll be able to help you when she's on the other side, but especially right around the time, like within like a couple weeks either side, and especially on the other side. Like it'll start getting bigger before she goes, but then afterwards for a few weeks it'll be really powerful.
I mean,
I've heard that before.
I probably told cousins, and they probably thought I was nuts, but I
when
think
that
I'm nuts
happened.
anyway, whether I'm psychic or not.
Yeah.
It's like, anyway,
She's just a nutty one in the
I'm
family, right?
Yeah,
That's okay. We're all
Have
the
you ever-
we're all the nutty ones in
we
our
all
family,
have
right?
that.
That's
Yeah.
okay. that's a good thing.
That's actually our name right there, isn't
There
it?
you go.
The nutty ones.
The nutty ones.
Have you
then
ever? Oh, go ahead.
In my 20s, I did start having precognitive dreams, and then my friends were like, oh, did you dream about me? What do you know anything about me?
They
What's
were
going to
totally
happen?
open to it.
They were very open to it. Yeah.
That's really good.
So I never had a lot of,
Have you ever
No
gotten
resistance?
the
No.
sense, like a really strong sense, like I shouldn't tell someone, like with an individual?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not really. No.
You seem like you have.
Well, you'll see a couple, and oh, this isn't going to last.
Oh.
And you
Well,
can't,
yeah,
you can't say
have that,
anything.
but,
Right.
So-
but then you're imposing yourself on
You
them. So
are,
like
you
if you're,
are, yeah.
I mean, I had that the other day where I can't remember where I was, and these two women were there, and it was just the creepiest feeling around them. And I
Really?
thought, yeah, I have no right to go and tell them what I'm getting. I really don't. So I had to.
Just
I had to
zip it up.
release that feeling. Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
let it go and yeah. So
So Yola, I know you didn't really realize you were, like, you didn't find out that you were a healer or really like open up to this stuff until you were later in life.
That's right.
So since you were more established in life and you didn't have it since you were a kid.
What is later in life?
Well, we're just going to keep
None
that
yet.
a little,
None your
yet.
business.
We're going to keep it a little
yeah,
ambiguous, right?
exactly. Right. Guy.
We don't go there.
So we aren't totally honest here. Let's just be,
Boundaries. It's about boundaries.
let's be honest about that.
We just don't say numbers.
So since you were more established in life, do you think it was harder to tell people? Like, did you tell your mom or your family or?
My mom at that point, she was she had dementia, so
She already was too
But
far.
I used to have soul conversations with her, so she
That's
knew all
great.
this.
Yeah.
It just wasn't, where I could talk to
Allowed.
her. Right, allowed. So yeah, she knew my new friends, because I gained a whole group of people, right? At that point, the friends I had before who didn't understand this, they just kind of fell out of my life. But I had new friends that I could talk to. So that was good because, that was my saving grace.
Mm-hmm.
But I would just say things sometimes. Somebody asks a phone number of somebody, and I just blurted out this phone number. And where did that come from? And it was a correct phone number.
Wow.
And I was told, no, you just
That's
remembered
the
that.
hardest, too.
Right, you just remembered that from wherever. And I was like, no, well, maybe I'm psychic. And I kind of joked.
Yeah.
No, right? It was a no, a big fat no. But I was like, well, whatever. That is the phone number. So, things like that. So I could only tell the people who I really trusted, my circle of friends. And, psychics are the ones that told me that I was psychic. I'd go to, when I started waking up and becoming aware of all this stuff, I went to every psychic I could find because I just really loved this kind of stuff and I wanted to learn. And it was psychics that told me, oh, no, you're psychic. You should be developing this.
Did you have a hard time with the ridicule at first?
Yes, I only told certain people. The rest I knew who to not say a thing to, and I knew who I could say things to.
Now, do you not care as much?
Nope, I just tell everybody
You don't
everything.
The
and
psychics that
some
you
people-
met, though, that were telling you to come out, how did that go? I mean, you've got...
Some it was very interesting because you talk about the greed thing, right? Some of them were like, "Oh, you should be doing this. You're psychic. Develop that. You should be doing that." Others would be like, "You're psychic, but not really like me. You can't really make a living from this. So you know
Yeah.
what? Just use your intuition,
Right,
whatever."
right.
They didn't
You're
want
not,
the competition.
You're not psychic like
They
me.
didn't want the competition,
Right.
yeah.
They did not want.
Yeah.
So it's very
Yeah, I was
interesting.
told that one time.
Not
Yeah,
interested in
yeah.
you developing at all.
Right, that's right. But they would come to me with questions and things or ask my advice
Yeah,
or
yeah.
my
Yes.
opinion.
Yeah, which is a nice compliment, actually.
Right,
Yeah.
it is, but
Yeah.
it's like, but don't be telling them.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of important to throw in a spotted dog occasionally to see how fast that circulates
Right.
through the crew.
Oh, yeah.
It's a purple dog. I don't know what it means.
I don't know what
and, and then you'll hear it a couple weeks later.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you
did you hear
have a
about that purple dog?
Yeah, do you have people? Yeah, so-and-so, right? Yeah, yeah.
Just trace down the gossip
Yeah.
mill,
I know, because you're my mom, that you had like a lot of ridicule. Like it was a big transition. You had to decide basically if you were going to accept it or reject it because it was going to change.
My life.
Yeah, like you couldn't really have any of the same friends, or I mean, you probably still don't tell your family too much about it, or
Nope.
or It's more like just your own kind of little, not secret, but
No, in fact, my family will know about that when they start watching these
See
podcasts.
it on the news, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
If they
That's
happen
right.
to
That's
come
when they'll be like,
across-
"Oh wow,
do you guys,
that's my sister."
do you think that, do you have friends, do all of you have friends who, they're your friend, but they don't really believe in it, so they don't ask you too much?
They don't,
Yes.
they don't
They don't
stay
wanna talk
friends with
about
me
it?
very long. So, I mean, they become a different category
Right,
of friend, I guess, is
absolutely.
what you're saying. a
I
little
think
further
your
away.
friends, you resonate with the people that
Right.
you're speaking the same language. It's like your tribe, your clan, your group. You know, it's like if you're an artist or a musician, you know, you get with them and immediately you understand each other. So you're speaking the same language.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And you know, then there's a comfort level there, and so then you get closer to them. So, yeah, friends that don't understand or judgmental or you know make fun or whatever, they don't want to get it. They don't get it.
they don't get it. They don't want to.
Doesn't
They don't want to
matter.
know.
Yeah,
they
and
just
so you
don't
have to
want
let
to know.
go. So
Yeah.
and you don't have to. They don't. I mean, you know, maybe you can still be friends with them, but they don't resonate with that. So, you know,
You run
You're
out of
not
things to
close.
talk about.
yeah, you do. I mean,
Another
it's
level
not as
is I've
close.
found that people that I have been friends with and we're just kind of a surface level friends, but then it gets a little deeper and then somebody, or it's usually me, that says something about astrology or healing or whatever, and then all of a sudden they say something, say, "Oh yeah, you know what? I got an astrology reading right before I got married. I had a friend that told me that." Or
Yeah.
another one's like, "Oh, I've been getting astrology readings for years." And I'm like, "We've never had these conversations, and
Yeah.
I've known
That's
you
amazing,
for
yeah.
so long."
And you're
It's
so
like,
good at that.
We're going to a different
Yeah.
level of this
Yeah.
friendship,
That's
right?
right.
Because then it's like, okay,
A lot of people kind of, I think, especially with your generation, left keep it a secret. Like they maybe saw a psychic, but they're like embarrassed because it got ridiculed a lot more in the
Right.
media. It used to be ridiculed. Well, now I think people in my generation and really young people, like it's just normal. Like I think that it's losing a lot of its bad stigma, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of people like you're talking about that they do see astrologers and they don't tell anyone, or they do see psychics, but it's like their little secret.
Well, back in what was it, Reagan, Nancy Reagan, she was big on astrology, and
Oh,
to
I
be
didn't know
using-
that.
Oh my gosh,
She was
yeah.
really short, too.
I
And
didn't
to
know
use
that.
that
That's,
in the White House was
wow.
like,
Well, you know, they're all using it.
yeah,
They all are, but interesting that she would say so.
she was doing it, and I mean,
Wow. Had no idea.
knowing you and getting to know how good you are at the astrology, you're so quick. You understand. You see the connections. So it's like a roadmap of your life, you know, and you can help people put that together for themselves.
Yep.
I think
Yeah,
it's, and
I
if they want to hear it, the message,
Right,
they'll
if they
hear
wanna
it.
hear it, right.
If
Yeah.
they're close to it, they're going to say, oh, well, that could be anybody.
Yeah, this
but not
re-
really.
This,
it really
yeah,
shows
I don't
up.
care. This is a time I'm supposed to get married. This is relationship,
Yeah.
and
Shows
it's
up.
like all over
Yeah.
in the chart or in your readings. You can like you
Yes.
said,
Yeah.
this couple's not going to work, and they're like, no, this is going to work,
Yeah.
and they just not open.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or they don't ask the
It
right
hurts.
question
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think we have such a balance of abilities here. That's what's so great. Because when I don't know, I ask Yolanda.
Right.
You know, I said, well, what do you get on that? What's horoscope got on that? You know.
Exactly.
But I think the group thing of doing the different disciplines, approaching the same target, is so valuable,
Have
so
you guys
powerful.
worked in groups before like this? Like, have you heard of like
No.
a lot of this where
Never.
psychics work
never.
together? That's
Well,
a common
I
goal?
heard about there are mythical groups. There was the Nine that Andre Paharish
mythical.
had, Uri Geller's manager.
Oh, Uri Geller,
But they had a group of 9. They called them the Nine,
The
and they were
Nine.
very tops of industry and all that. That
Is
he
this a
would
real people?
group them together, yeah, and he would summon spirits. He would mediumship for them,
Mm-hmm.
and also he could supposedly summon UFO critters. The Nine, and the Nazis did a similar thing with the Thule Society before World War II, where a group of psychics contacted extraterrestrials for
I've heard of
information,
this.
and so there's a lot of
And who is that? I've never heard of this.
No, the Nazis were really big into esoteric, into
Yeah,
occult
and
stuff.
they called it the Thule.
THULE,
Okay, I'm
Thule
gonna look that
Society.
up.
They had a bunch of women. It was a woman-run psychic group. They didn't cut their hair, so they all have hair down to the ground. But they would mediumship, and they would be talked to by these extraterrestrials that supposedly designed their planes and crap. There's a whole research it. There's a whole lot of stuff on that.
I have a question. something you mentioned, because I've heard of all that, but you mentioned that they kept their hair super long. I've
Right.
heard that some psychics, they think that their psychic power is in their hair, so
That's
they keep
all
their
over the
hair
world.
long.
The Indians, the
Yeah, the
Navajo,
Native
the
Americans.
the various Indians don't cut their hair. You'll see men with braids down to their butt.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like Samson in the Bible? had
Well,
his
that
hair?
that kind of thing. But they think it's connection to spirit. It's
Interesting.
if you're going to be psychic, you got to have long hair. The
Like the longer
Rastafarians
hair.
are exactly
More
the same,
powerful,
though.
yeah.
The Rasta men, the reggae music, and all of that, they don't cut their hair, their beards. And I worked with a bunch of Rasta for a while, and they said, yeah. And at that time, I was shaving, and they said, no, Jah, their word for God, Jah doesn't want you to shave your beard.
Is that why you keep it long?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And well, my it makes you more psychic. Well, sure, grow your beards. You'll see what I mean. You know.
It
but-
attracts electrical
Yeah,
impulses.
that's
yeah,
or
exactly.
vibes.
Yeah, and after you set it on
Yeah,
fire
we
a
need to
few
start
times,
taking
it's
some
Yeah.
testosterone or something
Testosterone.
like
well.
that.
Actually, I think you
Roselle.
probably have more testosterone now than I do. So I am 74 after all. You know, but
That's an 11, which adds up to
is
a
that
number.
good?
That's, 11's a good number.
11's a good
11's a
number.
master
Isn't
number.
that
Yeah.
two?
And
Though?
that's
I mean,
numerology.
Yeah, and
So
go-
11 is a master number. That's another
Anyway.
thing we know we do.
Yeah.
numbers.
One thing that's one thing I've been wanting to push is the divine stuff, like astrology, tarot, I Ching, the Tibetan thing I called Mo. It's a kind of divination they do.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a
That's
natural,
new.
doesn't it? I mean, how can we go wrong with this?
Right, we have to do Mo because we
Yeah,
have Mo.
yeah.
Mo and Yo.
And
That's right.
Mo and Yo.
Yo, Mo.
Maureen and Yola, right? Mo and Yo.
there you go. That's the power team.
Yo no Oko. No, I'm
Yeah.
not. No.
But
No.
yeah, we don't Yoko in there anyway.
Yeah.
No, let's keep that. Yeah. Got to draw the
I
line
was trying
somewhere.
to add Ken in there.
Yeah, I don't know if Ken's going to work
Well,
with that.
Yoko Mo. I don't know. We'll work on it.
I know we'll have to work on that
Mo,
one.
Yo.
Yeah.
Where were we talking about? I
The,
don't remember.
the various types of divination.
Oh, all
skills,
of
yeah.
those, yeah, because all of these, and I did the research, read all the Buddhist tracts to start with, and their whole thing was that life is impermanent, we all know that, but everything you do affects everything else. That's the basis of all this divination, is everything that happens affects the rest of the world. So once you know what's happening here, you can see how it affects the rest of the world, because it's predictable, it's consistent, it repeats itself. And so what I do is even when I'm doing the horoscope, I do the damn one in the paper. You know, I do 2 or 3 I have online. I like the Indian ones. Ganesh Speaks is my favorite. But I go through all of those to see if there's any pattern. Because what I'm looking for is patterns. I don't care if they're right or wrong. I want to know, do they agree with anybody else? And so I do all of those. And that's that one. But if you do that, the I Ching, then the various ones, and see how they coordinate with each other. Because again, their whole philosophy is whatever happens here affects the rest of the world, the rest of existence, and so you need to know what's happened here to see the effect. It's just like astrology,
Right.
and it's using those kinds of things to see if we can get a pattern going forward. Because if a guy's going to do a business deal, he wants to advance his horoscope to see, is that a good day?
Right.
Is that a good day for business? Then we're going to do all of this other stuff. Do the Tibetans think? Because the Dalai Lama does this damn MO thing every day, every morning. That's that important to them to see how the day's going to go. To me, if I was a businessman, I would love to have all of that background just to read through it and not to believe it, but to see if it speaks
There's
to your
patterns.
condition,
Right.
if it has anything to do with you. Because again, all of this stuff is many centuries
Right.
old, and it's totally religions that are totally different than ours. And to me, I enjoy getting as much other information as possible.
Sure.
One of my favorite ones, though, the Indians don't do that. The Oglala Sioux and the ones I grew up with do their own wisdom things, but they don't have them set to the time of the year. I mean, they don't do the astrology thing. They do seasons. When this season changes, that's the kind of thing to look for. But their wisdom is so great. They lived so much crap that they learned. When I lived on Indian reservations for a number of years, and one of them was where Black Elk, the Oglala Sioux medicine man, lived. I got to study a little bit with his daughter. He's dead, but he had visions about Indian times happening. He was a mystic and a psychic, a heavy-duty psychic, and wrote his stuff down. And it's beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Well, I have a question, actually, since you brought that up, kind of on topic. Since you grew up with Native Americans around you, do they nurture that in their culture more? Like if a kid says that they have psychic visions, or do they nurture it a little more?
The level of psychicness is the kid isn't everybody's psychic, and they know that. I've been sitting in their house. They make a thing called fried bread. I'm an amateur cook, and I wanted to learn how to make fried bread. So our neighbors, where we lived in this little town, and they're all log cabin type houses, the neighbors were making fried bread, so I went over to learn how to make fried bread. And the government puts out cherry pie filling, cherry compote, which is why you get the number 10 huge cans of it, and sneak those out of the government offices and down for the fried bread, because that is so good. So they're having fried bread. I said, well, so how hot do you get the fat? They all look over in the corner of the room, and there's nobody there, and they go, about 350. They go,
Oh, wow. Very interesting.
okay. So, but they were talking to somebody that I couldn't see, and that person was giving them detailed information about the making of this food.
Very interesting.
So, and these were kids.
sort
I
of
mean,
like a
these
mediumship.
weren't adults. These weren't studied individuals. They were just regular folk.
So,
Right.
Maureen, have you encountered people that you've given readings to that you know they're psychic, and you tell them, or you know they're an energy healer or something, and you have to tell them, this is in you, and you need to be doing this?
I've had other psychics come to me for readings, like the psychic.
Oh,
And they know that I'm pretty honest with them. I mean, whatever I see, I will say. I've never, so they'll come to me and I see some negative energy in them. It may be something that they've drawn to themselves, or something that, because of an argument with someone or some old family history or something, they're holding on to. And I will tell them when I see it. I'll just tell them that I see that, and I'll tell them it's up to you. You can either hold on to that, or you can release it. You can let go. And Yola, you know this as a
Right.
healer, as an energy worker. You can tell people. Some people choose to hold on to their
Right.
quote-unquote demons.
Right.
Maybe it's serving them. Maybe it's serving that energy. Maybe it works in their life right now. But it's usually old stuff. I'll also see, lighter energy. Maybe someone's trying to help them, and usually it's a mother or a sister, when it's women you're reading. And they'll just be like right there influencing them. And you make them aware of that energy or that person or that place in them that is affected by that. And if it's, it's up to them to release it or to work through it. And some people choose to not, do that. So.
One thing you do is you do that with so much authority that it's like totally believable. So,
It is believable. It is real.
And it's
it's
and
real.
it's self-evident that
I
it's
mean,
real.
I'm, if I see it, I'm going to have to say, there is an energy there. I did a reading on a woman at a fair, probably, I think it was the March Fair. Here in Denver, we have the Body, Mind, Spirit Expo twice a year. And so that's how I met Yola. And therefore we met Ken anyway, and Katie. So I was doing this reading on her, and I just kept seeing red on her left side. So red is pain, passion, anger. It can be, all those things that light you up and affect you. And I kept seeing it and saying it, and she wasn't reacting. I thought, okay, I'm just going to leave it there. And so at the end of the reading, she pulls out her aura picture. And on that left side was this bright red.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah. And,
So for people who don't know the aura picture, like
Yeah.
it's
Right.
like they take a picture of you and it shows the colors.
It
Right?
shows
it's
what
a
you're showing
special
in the
camera.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a special camera that shows the
And
energy.
you know more about that
Yeah.
than I do, but
Right.
so I found out later she was in love.
Oh,
was-
so
she
it was a
was-
passion.
She
it
was a
love.
passion red
Why
for
do you
her.
think it only showed
Well,
on
that's
one
better
side?
than
Yeah,
another
I was
red.
what side of her body? I'm
It
curious.
was on the
about
left side.
Okay,
So
her
there's
heart.
your heart space.
Yeah, her
So
actual
her heart,
heart. Right.
yes. So her heart space was showing red. Yeah, it was fascinating.
Interesting.
But you know all about that,
Yeah.
Yola, with the
Yeah.
Well, Yola,
The
so because you do astrology, also you do healing and astrology. And I know you can do it in healing. So in healing, I know you can do it in astrology, where you can tell if someone's supposed to be psychic or if they have a lot of healing abilities in their chart, right? Like what
Right.
in their chart shows that?
Oh, there's so many things that that there are certain planets in certain houses. I would have to go into a whole astrology lesson for this.
Okay.
Because there's certain things in certain planets. But like if you have an aspect, if like Uranus and Jupiter are in some aspect, whether they're together or like at a square or opposite each other, but any of those two together are like, oh yeah, you're.
So if
Well,
you,
that's actually astrology.
so if
but,
you have
yeah.
a client that comes to you and you can see that they're supposed to be doing it, you tell them, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think that they usually respond well to that, or it depends on
Some
who they are?
do and some don't. Some aren't ready for it. Some will say, you know what, that's not going to work into my life right now, because it's like a divination thing that you have to study a lot. You have to learn a whole lot. Some people don't have room in their life right now,
time.
but it's like, it's the seed's there, planted the seed,
So maybe later.
and so sometime, and I tell them, maybe not now, but if you can do it now, go for it. But if it's sometime in your life, go for it. If you have a chance, even a little bit at a time.
And you can kind of see in their chart, correct me if I'm wrong, like at what time of their life this is supposed to sort of come in,
Yes.
right? Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
So I know
the
it-
chart's all divided up.
In your healing, you are intuitive in your healing because you can feel where the pain is, where the problem
Right.
is, and you can feel whether it's emotional or physical. Like
Right.
what's the original source, so you can heal that
Right.
so it doesn't come back. Can you also tell if someone's psychic through your energy healing, or is that sort of a different?
I have never. Well, okay. Let me rephrase that. If they have a lot of, because my hand feels it, my hand knows where to go, looking for the energy. But if I feel a lot of stuff on their crown
top of their
chakra,
head, the crown
this is a
chakra?
crown chakra on the top of the head, I will tell them you're getting downloads. You're getting downloads. I don't know what they are. Ask for, before you go to sleep for your dreams, but you're getting a ton of downloads.
And can you describe what you mean by downloads?
So a download, I remember the first download I had. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was. It was probably, 15, 20 years ago. It was a long time ago. And I remember just laying in bed, and I wasn't asleep. I know I wasn't asleep. I was very much awake. But I was just kind of in that really sweet space. And I knew I wasn't dreaming because I just knew. But I was getting this download of things, and it was like charts, and it wasn't like charts like an Excel chart or something like that. It was just like charts.
Was
over
it
charts over
astrology charts?
Yes, but I
Oh,
didn't
wow.
know that. It
Oh,
was
wow.
just charts,
Wow.
and I was just laying there probably like 20 minutes or more.
They're like, she's ready.
Did
Right.
you even know
Give
what an
it to her.
astrology chart looked
No,
like?
I did not know what an
Oh my
astrology
gosh.
chart was at that time.
Wow.
So I just was like, I didn't even know what it was. And then it
I
happened
remember you
again the
telling me
next
that you thought
time.
it was math problems.
Yeah, it was like some kind of math. I had no idea what
Yeah,
it
it does
was.
look
And I
like
would
that.
ask my friends that were psychic or
Wow.
healers. I didn't really know astrologers at that time or anybody I could actually ask, nobody personal that I could even ask. But I was like, what is this? What do you think? And somebody just said, you know what? I don't know, but you were supposed to get that. Obviously, you got it. So when it comes, when it's time, the time is right in your life, you'll understand it. So I was like, okay, I sat with that for a long time, years. Didn't know what it was, but I just knew it was downloads because it was just coming to me, coming. So I would wait for them every night. I'd be like,
Oh,
am I getting
wow.
more? Am I getting more?
How
And it
long
happened,
did that go on?
It happened 2 nights in a row.
Oh, okay.
And then it happened again later. I was like, okay, I just need more of that. Whatever it is, I need more of that because it was
That's
so
pretty
awesome.
He welcomed it.
That is
And it would
cool.
come to me, and it would just
Yeah.
several times, and it would just come to me. And then when I started learning astrology, it was like, oh my gosh,
There it is.
That's what it was.
There it is.
There it is. So yeah,
there
it was
it
just
is.
charts. I don't know who's.
There
I don't know
it
who's right. I don't know whose charts they were, but they were somebody's charts. They were
But
just
the
astro-
information was
the
there for you to
information was there.
access.
Exactly.
And Spirit knew somehow you were ready.
That's right.
Even though you didn't know you were
Right.
ready.
So when I
boom.
started learning
Yeah.
it, and
That's
it made
so cool.
sense to me, that's what
And
it
it
was.
came really fast to
It
you,
came
right?
Then I just like when I started
Wow,
learning it,
that
I
was
was
so
just
cool.
like, just leave me alone. Just I was just like, I don't know.
bookworm.
You were
Yeah, like a
diving
bookworm.
in.
I was so many
So
many
cool.
webinars, so many classes. I
Yeah.
took so much stuff and books.
Yeah.
Hundreds of books. Just read, and
Yeah.
listen, learn.
Yeah, we've supported the industry well.
I know. Have
Do you
them all.
think-
Yeah.
So do you guys think that if someone who's listening is like having an experience like that, like a download, or maybe they've had sort of prophetic dreams, but they're not really sure, would you encourage them to develop it more, or can they live their life without developing it? Is it something that they are supposed to be doing?
They need to come and see us.
Yeah. And they can. In my opinion, their life will be much better.
If they accept it and follow
Right.
it.
And like I said, maybe it's not the time for them, but it would work out better
And it
if they
doesn't have
did.
to be a career, but it's more
Right,
something
just
just
something
to
right. It
have
just
in their
even
life.
like to help their friends and family, you know.
And it's a choice.
Yeah,
You
it's
choose
absolute
that.
choice.
Some people fear it a lot.
Right.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
Right.
You can choose to, let it go. It's like, maybe you have a bad dream. Well, you can choose to think about that forever and be
And it's
affected by
But
it.
if you want to
Totally
scare your
choice.
friends, you can scare your friends
Right.
too.
I mean,
So,
it's
yeah.
a choice.
It's totally a choice. I know somebody who she would get these kinds of things, and basically she was a medium, and a medium is somebody who people that have crossed over come over to
Died.
talk to right
Dead people.
dead people have come over to send a message to their loved ones or their friends, and this was happening to her a lot. And she's like, you know what? That is too scary for me. And she kind of just said, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this in my life at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So you can do that.
And it went
Yeah,
away.
You can do
She
that.
doesn't do that. But it'll be really interesting because I do know this person. She's, I know her, still know her. And so it'll be interesting to see if it comes out later in her life. Like, oh no, you were supposed to do this. Maybe you weren't ready. Whatever it is,
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you're not
But
ready.
it'll come later,
Yeah.
and maybe she'll accept it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Do you think
I have the hardest time reading for people that I care about, though, because I have wants and desires for them or fears,
Your
whatever,
filters.
and that
it's hard to read
I
for
can't,
people
I don't
you
get
care
a clear
about.
picture. So that's the hardest. If you really are involved with the situation, that can make it a lot harder.
I have a friend who will not read for anybody she knows
Yeah,
well.
there's wisdom in that.
Right. She just won't. She said, no, I just put too many filters on
Yeah.
it. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
I just prefer to read for somebody
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and if you see something you don't want to see, how do you tell your friend? You know, so
Okay. So you guys I know you guys do readings for each other. I know you all get readings from each other, and they seem to be really good, right?
Yes.
But I
Yes.
think that's because you have, well, I don't know, to correct me if I'm wrong, you've worked together and you've developed your energy together. But other than that, when you guys go see a psychic, do you like to see someone you don't really know that well? Or
I don't know. We tend to be really compassionate with each other. I know Maureen's compassionate with me when she reads my bullshit, and so and I'm really thankful of that, by the way. So in us being honest with each other, we're compassionate at the same
Yeah,
time,
that's true.
because when you give readings, you have that choice, of saying, well, I can see, the spotted dog, whatever, but I can see something negative, and are you going to be compassionate about it, or are you going to be a jerk? And you have that choice a lot of the time. How do you put out the information? Because if you're a jerk, actually it cuts your effectiveness because people are just going to reject it.
yeah, they get kind of angry about
I've
what they
had
heard.
And they don't
couple
want to hear it.
people- I've had 2 people walk away. I'm like, well, that's what I saw. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Boom,
yeah,
they're gone.
yeah.
But it's okay. That's
Yeah,
their choice.
yeah, and I totally agree with her on that. But I don't know how to soft pedal that. I wish I did, because they're not getting anything from the reading besides what they expected, and so I've got to find some way to soft pedal that, to remind them of some other time when they did believe in stuff. That's my game. I've got hypnosis degrees, and you always want to remind people, because it's a hypnotic induction, of remember when this happened before, and they go back to that time, and if it was a better time than now, it can be useful to them.
Also, as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about interpretation. So, like you talk about the spotted dog, you see this. Is it really about a spotted dog? And how do you interpret that for them? Or do you just give them, okay, this is what I'm seeing.
Oh, so are
And-
you giving them just what you're getting?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to,
And I had that happen
Yeah.
at the show with this guy. And all of a sudden, this Elvis collar pops up behind his head, and I'm like, I know, it was freaky. I'm like, this sounds really stupid. I said, but I'm just going to tell you what I see. Boom. And I told him, he goes, I used to be an Elvis impersonator.
Okay.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
rather than interpreting it for what you think it is, I try not to filter too much. I am compassionate, so I try to give them information,
Well, the reading's
Gentle.
about them. It's not
Gentle
about
way.
you.
Right.
Yeah, it's not about me. That's right.
Right.
But we also get, and you know this, we also get healing.
Right.
As we're giving to them, we're receiving.
Right.
And usually the people that need to, like whatever events and things that you've been through in your life, traumas, disappointments, but love, all kinds of things, that there will sometimes be a theme.
Oh,
And
yes.
you will end up attracting the people
Yep.
Oh, that you
that
kind of
that
have something to do
you
with
have
it.
experienced. It's almost like the Slumdog Millionaire of
Yeah.
readings, because many times I'll have one whole day of a show might be so they've lost a loved one, or there had another day of a show might be they're looking for new jobs,
Like
or
everyone you get
Do you,
struggling.
Right.
do you think their
Yeah.
heart brings them to you on those days?
I
think
might
it does.
be, because you're
That's
setting
what I
out a
think.
vibe. Maybe you're
I
sending
absolutely-
right. You're attracting.
I think so.
Well, I
Yeah,
had-
and so we heal as they heal.
That happens in
So-
astrology too.
It'd be fun, though, to
Actually.
go to each table and say, okay, I see 37 readings here today, and go to the
Yeah.
next one, and say, because here's the vibe.
What's the
doing a
theme of
market
the
projection
day?
here,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering, so since you're telling me that, this will help the listeners who might be having psychic experiences and they don't know if they want to go forward with it. Would you say that is one benefit to using your psychic powers or your healing powers or whatever special abilities, is that you are getting something back? It's almost like a gift for you. Since
is.
You're
Oh,
giving
yeah,
that to
It
the
is
world.
definitely.
Yeah, it's
Because
an
it's a
exchange.
service. Like being
Definitely.
a psychic
It
is
is
a
a
service
service,
to
yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you guys agree with this, but everyone has some service.
Yes.
Everyone should be doing something in service. It
I
doesn't
agree.
have to
Should
your
be.
whole
Should's a good
career.
word, though.
Yeah.
So it gives back to
Totally
you.
agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in whatever way, you can. So that's the other thing you were talking about. Like you give information to people, and maybe they are psychic, and they don't want to use it because either they're afraid or they just don't want to share it or whatever. But so then they're missing out also because
Right.
they're not getting that.
Right.
They give, they get.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's probably like a little bit like they're not exploring this whole side of themselves. Like they're kind of only half.
Right.
But also being as spirits in physical form, we can choose to, we can choose to do the work or not do the work.
That's true.
And also we have power in a way. We have our own personal power. Like if you have spirits coming to you, like your friend who was the medium, and she didn't know it, and then she realized she was, and she didn't want it. You have that power because you're in body. So
Right.
they're not in body. So you can say, I don't want this. Just like if you have a ghost in your house, you can say,
Right.
"This is my house.
Get
you need
out.
to get
Go
out."
away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to set boundaries.
Right.
So Ken, were at any point were you resistant to your powers? Like you didn't want them?
It's when you get ridiculed, yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to tell someone and you can't. You know something that you can't know. And mostly it was about my relationships with my parents' friends. And you could see who was screwing who. And as a little
That's
kid,
very interesting.
and as a little kid, that's
Things you
not a
don't
good
know.
thing
Yeah,
to
that
know.
is.
What's going on in the neighborhood?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And
That's
and
actually really
parents
funny.
don't want to hear that.
course
Nobody
not.
wants to hear that.
They want you to keep it a secret.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to be known.
Keep
That's
your
And,
mouth shut. Don't say.
And so,
very interesting.
Well, that brought up another question for me, which is, what is it like dating as a psychic? Is it hard to tell people? Like,
it's you're so confused when you're in love. You're so
But if you're not in love and you're just dating,
yeah, if it's just
Yeah.
the
And
first
what the
date.
heck?
like,
well, whatever's
how do you
going
come
on.
in? Do you
But there's very little clarity
love
in that
colors.
Some
situation.
people are very wary of that. They're worried that you're gonna know something about
Oh,
Or they
them.
yes,
can't
yes,
lie to
yes.
you.
They
They
can't
can't
lie
Yeah.
to you, and they're like, what
Yeah.
are they gonna see? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I
and
put
that's why
it-
some people
I-
don't
Yeah.
even come for readings because they
I-
don't want to know something about.
I just put it out there. Like I've been on several dating sites because I'm single now. So I put it right there, and my friend said, "Why do you want to put that?" I'm like, "I want them to know."
Yeah.
Because if they can't deal with it, they can't
Right.
deal
You want
with
to know
me.
right away that
I
you're
want them
Yeah.
to
This is who I
know
am.
I'm a psychic. This is what I do. Bop,
Yeah.
bop, bop. And if you can't handle that, don't come to me.
Well, do you find that people, like I think you were just saying, or maybe you were saying that, I think you were saying, Ken, that maybe people shy away from you, like even friends, once they find out you're psychic because they're afraid you you know too much about them.
I don't know if it's that. I would love it was if they were afraid of my power, but I think they're just afraid of my weirdness.
That's good though.
Yeah, I think that's
Right,
For
because
all
then you
of
can be
us.
choosy in who you're friends with, which is
Yeah.
very important.
Oh yeah, because some just drift away.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Then they're not supposed to be there.
that's right.
Say, well, no, my whole thing with them is, okay, and I've stolen this from I've told you this one before, from the Arab oil dealers. Of the guy's a Christian, and he's working for an American oil company in Saudi Arabia, and he's making his company's making zillions of dollars off the Saudi Arabians, so we got to keep them happy. They're heavily Muslim, and so they keep asking this guy, when are you going to convert to Islam? And because he's Christian, and he knows that as soon as he converts to Islam, he's under the control of the Aymans. He has no more decisions to make, and in business, that's death. So he can't do that. So if he's going to continue to do business in the country, he has to find some way to stay Christian, dealing with Muslims who want him to become Muslim. And his answer to them was, is that God, the Islam God, let's see, what's his name? Inshallah, Allah has not seen fit to open my eyes to his existence yet. And that's the psychic stuff when I'm working with my kids. And I say, you shouldn't believe in any of this crap till it hits you in the face, till you can't deny it. Do not wish, do not hope in this area. Know or don't know.
So that's what you would tell your viewers or your listeners.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how come when I was recruiting psychics, my whole thing was, and I had an assistant, but I was telling him to go around to each one of the psychics. I said, don't get a reading from the cards. Say, where's my car keys? And if they're psychic, they'll be able to find your car keys or give you some answer for that. If they're just a diviner, if they're just reading cards and stuff, they're not going to be able to give you an answer to that.
Well, and those things have value, exactly, but they're not the same thing.
They're different.
It's a different-
They're
right,
different.
it's different.
They're different.
And we'll do a whole podcast where you guys explain the difference between divination, psychic. It's kind of like the difference between being born with a gift and like learning it.
Well, I think you can develop, though. That's one of my shticks, is that everybody's psychic. We've just been carefully conditioned not to be.
Right.
And to get along in this world, it's better not to be. It's better not to know too much. And it's better not to be able to explain how you know too much. And so those kinds of things. So
Imagine in the olden days if you were like, back in the witch burnings and all of
Well,
that.
I don't know, though. I grew
It's a
up
whole
where
thing.
among very poor white Christian people in the Midwest who divined, who had the wires, dowsing rods. They did dowsing, and I would ask them what's going on there, and they go, "Well, you'll just know it when you feel it." And so they didn't say it was God or the devil or anything. They were looking for water, and so that was their whole shtick. So they didn't have any esoteric, although it was totally esoteric.
It's instinct.
But but they didn't define it that way. It was
knowing.
just like plowing the field. It's part of your skills as a farmer.
Wow, that's so interesting.
So
So I want to ask you guys, what advice would you give people who maybe are coming into their powers as adults? Maybe they're noticing they're psychic, or maybe they have like a really straight-laced job, like they're a banker or like a real estate agent or something, and they are coming into their powers. For instance, okay, I'll give you an example. My mom and I were at one of the shows. You were there, Maureen, but you were giving readings. We were walking around, and we got a reading from this guy who was like a brain surgeon or something in California.
I remember him.
Yeah, like a very respected brain surgeon.
I remember
But what
him.
had happened, because he was probably 60s or 70s, he had started getting the power where you write.
Automatic writing.
Automatic and
writing,
he was channeling stuff.
Yeah.
And he was there, and he didn't have anything on his table or booth.
Yeah, I
like
remember
nobody was
that.
approaching him.
Yeah, very.
And
yeah.
we were curious about him. We went and talked to him, and it kind of seemed like he was, even at the show, he was hiding. And so he was
He
in
wasn't there
California.
very much either.
Yeah, so he lived in California. He was here in Colorado, and he was kind of telling us his story. And so we're like, so is that why you're in Colorado? And he's like, oh, nobody knows I'm here. That's why I came like 2 states away, because he had to hide it from the medical profession
He absolutely
that he
did.
was doing,
got
it.
that he was
Yeah.
going to a psychic fair.
yeah, it's
You know,
like
it's
pilots with
very,
UFOs.
very,
They
very
can't tell anybody.
Right,
secret.
but it was very much a part of him. He couldn't hold
not
it
do
in.
it. So he was
couldn't
doing
do
it, but he
exactly.
was doing it in
He's a
secret.
blessed guy. Then.
Right.
Wow.
Because
So-
I remember asking him, wow, this must be really awesome for you when you're doing your surgery and everything, because
Oh,
basically
yeah,
you're just
wow.
asking you're just
For
asking
direction.
for direction. He's like, yeah, but I have to be really I can't
Yeah, like,
let
totally.
anybody know what's going on.
So it's internal for him.
Very much
So,
so.
yeah. So, what kind of advice would you give to someone like that, and they don't know how to go forward? Would you?
Well,
tell them?
they're running fear. So somebody like that is running fear-based energy because they're afraid of losing,
What they
something.
have.
What they have, right? That other part, because not just like his life and his career, his livelihood, all the financials, everything that, but also it's who he is, who
Yeah,
he's known as, and it's
exactly.
like
His
it's completely
reputation.
Yeah.
change who he is. Like you're
Exactly.
walking into a new life.
That would be kind of funky or
So
Yeah.
you're saying,
weird.
I want you to finish that about the fear. He's running
Well,
fear
I would
energy.
say, like, for me, when I first started with all this, or, as an adult, like I always had it when I was a kid, but as an adult, it became more concrete. And I was a mom raising a little kid in California. I was just like, I didn't have a big career or anything to lose. So for me, it was like, it helped me connect more with my friends. So I didn't have any fear for that. I didn't have anything to lose, so to speak, right? And but when somebody has a lot to lose, I could see where they would be, running a lot of fear with that.
Well, also, it might be interesting to go to bankruptcy courts and find people that have already lost everything and say, okay, you're probably ready for something new now, aren't you?
You're right. I actually went to a hypnotherapist in Albuquerque, and I was looking for someone very specific, and so I interviewed them, and I was like, this is what I want. I want a regression. I wanted very specifically I wanted to go to my childhood. And they were, I talked to a lot of like, we don't do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, whatever. And I was like, no, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I found one. She's like, yeah, we can do that, but it's going to take a few sessions. And I had already done self-hypnosis, so I just knew it was going to be fine. And so I went to her, and immediately after the first session, I went a bunch of times because I really liked it. Anyway, I asked her how she got involved in this. She was some type of engineer. I don't remember what type. She was in California, and she was kind of like bored with what she was doing and this and that. Like, it was coming on. I gotta change something. And she knew she had to.
She had a feeling.
And she said, you know what? One morning I woke up and it was like I couldn't do this anymore. I could not do this anymore.
Wow.
I had enough money saved, and I sold everything I had, packed my car with what I could take, and I just started driving. And I kind of knew where I was going, but I didn't. She ended up in Albuquerque, and she just kind of plopped herself because, she didn't know what else to do. And she saw an ad about hypnotherapy training, so she did that. And that's what she did now.
Wow.
That was her life. And she said, and I was like, well, that's really awesome. I said, do you think you could go back to California, the community you were in, to do this? She said, nope.
Nope.
When it was time to go, it was time to go.
Interesting.
She went a couple states as well,
That's like a calling. Like she
it's
was
a calling,
called to do it.
absolutely. And
Yeah,
she's like,
she
I
was a
cannot
calling.
live in that life,
Yeah.
but I know I cannot live the life I don't know what the life is, but when
Right.
she discovered it,
Interesting.
she couldn't do it where she was.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
I guess coming out as psychic or choosing to develop your powers is also sort of a lesson in courage and knowing who you are,
Yeah.
like really being grounded in who you are and not really caring what people think because
Right.
you have value.
During,
so I guess
Right.
during the late 60s, this was a big deal. Everybody left home. They ran away to be hippies. No, I'm seriously. The Beatles have songs about it. She's Leaving Home. All of these songs that chronicled what's going on in
So
kids'
they went
lives.
to find themselves.
They went to find. They knew that where they were wasn't where they
Right,
needed
right.
to be.
Right,
They needed
right.
to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you're going to San Francisco, all that crap is because
some
everybody,
flowers in
people
your
were
hair.
running away from the reality they'd been raised in to do anything else.
Yeah.
And so some of them became radical politicians and threw rocks at cops. Some became hippies, though, in California. I think the East Coast did the cop thing. But the West Coast, it was people found communities where they could have this experience because they were all running from something. I would be hitchhiking and 50 people. The whole America was right there in the row. They weren't California kids.
So
They'd all
diversity.
come from Iowa every place, just to be part of this thing that was happening.
It's like the
Right now,
universal-
that's going on again,
It's like
though,
the universal,
spiritually.
yeah, it's like the universal mind, or
It really is.
it's just kind of like society,
Yeah.
you know.
But it doesn't.
shape-
Now's the time, and you hear the bell ring, and it's time.
Yeah, and it's happening right now.
It is.
I
a lot.
agree. I think
It's very
I feel that
interesting.
very much. I
Yeah,
know my boyfriend
it's
feels
happening
that.
now.
Like we want to just go be free and explore, because we know what we have is not what we want.
Yeah.
But we don't know what we want.
We want something
So
better.
the
And you
only
have
way
the
to find
freedom
that-
to do it. A
Yeah.
lot of us
Right.
don't know we have the freedom
Right.
to
Yeah.
do
Right,
that.
at that
Right.
time, because life was
Right?
different. I actually
what
went
you've been
to,
told.
I went to a seminar. I was at a seminar one time, and I met this woman. It was a seminar of bridging science and spirituality. It was a Greg Braden, who is an incredible author and speaker. I've seen him many times. Anyway, I was at a seminar of his, and it was lunchtime or break time or whatever. I was wandering around, and I found someone that I could talk to. I just saw this woman sitting there by herself, and I wanted to talk to her. And we were chatting, and as it turns out, she was a twin.
Ah,
And Greg Braden's, one of his thing, he was talking about entanglement, which is basically,
Quantum entanglement.
yeah, quantum entanglement.
Oh,
And-
Great Braden, yeah, I've got all his books.
Yeah, he's great. And so he was talking about entanglement. It's just like if something's happening here and it's connected to something there, they can
Yeah.
feel it. And she was
Wow.
a twin, which is really
They're
interesting.
really entangled.
She
yeah.
was a reconstructive surgeon.
Oh, okay.
So was her twin. And
Oh,
she,
wow.
yeah, but her
Both of them.
twin, yeah, and her twin was like in Afghanistan. She was
Oh.
in the military, so she was in
Oh,
Afghanistan
wow.
doing surgery
Wow.
on
Right.
people there. And she was in New York doing,
This is a Reacher book, by the way.
right, doing facial things,
Yeah.
right, or whatever,
Plastic surgery,
plastic
basically.
surgery.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she said it was kind of interesting that they took different paths, and she was kind of like, people have judgment about this and that and the other thing and whatever. And I was like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. And she said that she noticed that some people would heal better than others. And so, since I did healing, that was our conversation. But what I said was, well, you know what? You can work on your patients. You can work on them before, and the surgery's
Like
going
do
to go
some
better.
energy
Do
healing.
To set
energy
the
healing.
space.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
set
yeah,
the
yeah.
You have to be
Exactly.
very
Energetic.
And then
Yeah.
come in and do energy work afterwards, and
Yeah.
they'll heal more quickly.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, well, that's not going to fly in my world.
Right.
I cannot be doing this stuff. And I was like, you don't even need to do it. Like, they don't need to know. Basically, you can do it from the
Better
other.
that they don't.
Yeah, you can do it from another room, or if you come into their, they're in the hospital
Yeah.
bed and just, do this, or just
Yeah.
kind of, you're doing it. Your intention's there, and I showed her how, and she would do that.
Was she open to that?
She was open to that.
That's good.
She was
great.
She
open to
kind of
that.
had some abilities too, didn't
Right,
she?
and she did have abilities, so I was like, just practice on me, I know
cool.
what it feels like.
Really cool.
So we developed that, and she was able to go back, and then I actually heard from her later, and she said that she
Nice.
noticed a difference in her patients. But
Yeah.
it was the kind of thing, like she was in a world where she couldn't do this, so she
Yeah.
had to
But she
do
knew
it.
she could help people.
She knew she
And
could help
couldn't
people,
not
and it would
help
be
people.
right, but
Really
she could
cool.
do it in a quieter way, or
Well, you
And
bring up
so,
an,
well,
Yeah.
I
Go
just,
ahead.
not to interrupt, but that's the serendipity that you talk about. So there's the woman.
Uh-huh.
You come along. She's by herself. You have all of a sudden,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
spirit to spirit, you're connecting
Right.
and you're helping her.
and who
Right.
knows where she's at now?
I know.
Maybe she does energy healing.
Right, maybe she does, or maybe like who knows? Who knows what direction she took after that?
I mean, she's at a spiritual conference, so I
Right.
wonder if even that is sort of out there for some of these
oh,
professions.
it was. She was on vacation.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, they did not.
Quote
Her
unquote.
colleagues did not know where she was.
So that brings up an interesting point for people who are kind of coming into their powers and don't really know what to do, don't know where to turn. Ethics, because you might do some bad. It's like if you were magical and you do bad stuff before you're old enough to know better or whatever. What would you say the boundaries are that you would suggest people set? Like how you said you don't go up to random people and give them readings, because that's kind of
They tend to punch you.
yeah, and it's like kind of not your business, sort of.
Yeah.
So what would
Yeah.
some like boundaries you would say for these people?
I think it's just, for me, that's a big boundary. So if you're picking up on stuff, you don't go up and do that. But you have to set your own space for integrity and truth. And
Like what feels moral to you or
Right.
right.
yeah, exactly. It's a
And-
moral boundary.
Right, and
too.
kind of for the highest good for everybody.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
Yeah, because it'll
Like-
happen the way it's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
Even like when you see people on the street corners asking for money, or the homeless people, you know,
Yeah.
you want to. I just always give them a blessing. You do the
Yep.
same thing. It's like I just want to give them a blessing. I don't really think that's like that's. I think that's okay. I
Yeah.
don't think
'Cause
you
they
need
can
that
accept
bound.
it or
Right?
not,
They can
yeah.
accept it or not. You know, you give them this blessing, and it's for them whether they choose.
So would you
Right.
say it's more about your intentions? Like, are you doing this stuff with good intentions?
You
Oh,
got
yes,
to
to help
have
people.
intention. That's your
Absolutely.
power. If there's no
Right.
intention, there's no power. So
Right.
Yeah.
you got to want it.
You're here to
But
help
like
people.
positive, like you're
Yeah.
Any intention, unfortunately, works.
Okay.
It
Right.
doesn't have to be
Right.
positive.
But
Yeah.
for us, it's all about helping people. Like
Yeah.
we're just trying to make the world a
Right.
better place.
Yeah.
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 And
But
do you
when
guys-
really negative people really hate your guts, it does affect you.
yeah. And it affects them though too, right?
Oh, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what you give, you get. So that's probably something to tell people is
If
that
somebody's
what you
throwing
give, you get.
somebody's throwing energetic daggers at you, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I just put a bubble wrap and shoot.
Yeah, a bubble and
Yeah.
Or it
grounding.
bounces off of me.
Yeah, I
Right,
just
it
say,
goes right
I'm
back
a
to
little
them.
busy right now.
What is
Could
that?
you
It
come
bounces.
back in a little
Yeah,
bit?
there was like a saying, and I don't remember what it was.
I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off of me.
That's what I was going to say. I had that one coming.
That's
I had
right.
to think of it.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was good. Something about glue and something else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
like things
yeah.
we learn when we're little.
Right.
Yeah,
They're in there
scary,
somewhere.
scary stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, so do you guys have anything else that you would tell people who are maybe have these psychic things but don't know how to go forward?
Get a peer group, get
Yeah.
friends, get support, and it is out there. And you'll be able to decide who you trust and who you don't trust. But there is we're a support network.
Right.
There are many support networks out there. They have meetings regularly. This is not a unique phenomenon. A lot of people are going through it. You're not alone.
Right.
And
That's probably the most helpful.
and but when you get around other people, they'll realize they're not alone either. So not only you're helping
Right.
yourself, you're helping them,
Right.
which synergizes. I'm making up words here,
No, that's
but it's
work.
and I'm doing gestures that don't make any sense. But
That's where
That's
you're going to
okay,
get yourself
right?
in trouble there, everybody.
it could go anywhere from here. We
Right.
have no idea. But you can help people, and if they allow it. But you can't make
Yeah.
them.
Right.
God, we've all tried that, haven't we?
Right.
But you really need this. No, they don't.
No.
Okay.
But if you want this, find people. Like I was saying, at one point, well, the friends that weren't into this kind of stuff just kind of fell out of my life. But those friends that were, I depended on them.
I think
Like,
they get
I
uncomfortable around you.
seriously-
That's what I think.
seriously
I think
depended.
people that aren't into it are just a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, they make-
and so they find,
Yeah.
well, I think I gotta go plant my garden.
That's
Well,
right.
I think
know,
you
gotta
kind
go.
of, you kind
Yeah.
of shatter their little illusion of what the world is.
Whatever,
So they
but
just
it
have to-
it
Their
does
safety
challenge
zone.
their
Yeah, their
safe
safety
space.
zone.
Right.
Yeah, their
And,
safe
Right, their
and,
safe
and
space, yeah, the
I don't
belief
think we
system.
have the permission to do that to anybody.
Nope.
So I would say, would you also say, be ready for their life to change because their
Oh,
life will
absolutely.
change completely.
Their life
so
will
they need
change.
to be like
Because, right.
okay with that.
And also,
Yeah.
whatever you have, just use it for good. You're not
Right.
that special. You're not that magical.
Yeah.
Like
it's just-
anybody can do this. if
yeah.
you- right. If they
yeah,
choose
you
to
just need
develop it.
to do it with integrity and
Right.
And I tell
love.
them,
And for good.
there's a whole world here.
Right.
So.
Okay,
Good for
well,
good.
this is a great podcast. Thank you so much, guys. I think
Oh,
that was really
absolutely.
good.
Thank
Okay.
And-
It was
One thing
fun.
we like to do, though, in our podcast is do a little thing we call the blessing.
Oh, yeah.
You're it today.
Guinea
So
pig.
what we do is we concentrate between Katie's eyes, where her third eye would be in popular culture. Actually, there are so many places. It seems to move whatever book you read.
Right.
But it's between
Right
your
between your
eyes.
Right here.
Yeah, exactly. You hit it. And our whole thing is we're going to build energy to increase the energy, and that's spot on you. Because the concept is that there's wisdom and magic and all that in that area. And if we energize it, we might be able to use some of it.
And the listeners can focus on that.
Do
point
it the
as
same
well. If
thing,
you're
yeah.
listening to this,
Because there's
focus
no
on your
limit to
third
this.
eye.
It's not
That's
not
right.
like
And the
we're
energy
just
will go
doing
there.
you. We're doing everybody that's watching this. So pay attention between
Right,
your
just-
eyes.
just-
isn't that your sixth chakra?
Right. And just concentrate here.
And we're doing some deep breathing here to build the energy. There's a few other tricks for building energy, but I think we'll just stick with this right now. Yola builds energy really well. Maureen pumps her heart into it, so we got that going on. And this is just between your eyes, and I'm visualizing it now, and I'm doing intent, and I'm doing golden light. That's my favorite. Between the eyes there. And there should be a little bit of temperature change too. So you might feel a tiny bit of circulation and warmth going on there.
I get a different experience every time this
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
This time, I don't know why, but it's like making me laugh. It's like I just smoked
Yeah.
a joint.
Well,
or
that's
something.
good.
It's
All
making
right.
me laugh.
It's good to release that.
Giving me like giggles.
That's a good thing.
I know.
We usually charge a lot more for that. Yeah.
Oh my
So-
God.
But anyway, that's the shtick. That's it. I'm going to be interested in building as much of that kind of energy as I can, so that if we have a group of people, we can do stuff. Because if we're within certain distances of each other, we transmit. I'm hitting everything here. I'm out of control. But that we can build energy that way.
Yeah, hopefully in the future we could do
And
like
projecting.
meetups.
You know.
Yeah, we
Have
could do
people come and be a
meetups.
part
Right.
of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that was super great. And next week we'll have another great topic. I'm not
Okay.
sure what yet. We'll have to
Okey-doke.
decide and we'll let you guys know.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks.
See you next
Bye.
week.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next
See
week.
ya.
Bye.
Right. Stroke my beard. There we go.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. We're at your house tomorrow?
Yeah. Is that what we're doing?
Which is out.